You're watching Utah's #1 news station. This is 2 News at 10.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for 2 News at 10 o'clock. The big story tonight is what was in the sky. You could see the eclipse in Utah. We're going to have a live report from southern Utah. But first, in Salt Lake City, people packed the Olympic fountain at Gateway to catch a glimpse.
Oh, they did. While it wasn't a total ring of fire here in Salt Lake, those who saw it were still impressed.
It looks like just like a yellow spot with a dark circle kind of covering it up.
We could not find the glasses all over the place. We thought we weren't going to be able to see it, but we found this for like $5. So it's really, really cool.
Looking through this little film thing, and you can really see it through there, and it's really cool.
It was really cool. I was one of those who put together a makeshift set of glasses. Well, a solar eclipse like the one seen tonight will not appear again until 2023.
How are your eyes tonight?
I'm doing okay. You know, when you close them and you still see the sun, that's the problem.
All right, Ladd Egan with a report from southern Utah coming up. But first, from the heavens to where the rubber really hits the road. In Cache County, a controversial plan to put a truck stop right next to a neighborhood.
Homeowners in the area want to put a stop to this plan. Roxanne Vianuco has been looking into the situation. She joins us live right now. And Roxanne, what are neighbors saying about this proposal?
They are definitely not happy about it. You know, they say that a truck stop belongs somewhere along a highway, like where I am tonight, not near a residential neighborhood. And so they've looked into it. They've talked to realtors. They say this could be a very big blow. In fact, they say they could lose as much as 40% of the value on their homes.
You want a neighbor to be courteous.
Location is completely inappropriate.
You want a neighbor to be friendly.
We believe there's a safety issue.
But people who live along rural 9th East in Wellsville could soon be neighbors with a new truck stop they say isn't neighborly at all.
It falls into the category of an overnight stay, but it's not a motel. So the city has an ordinance that says that it's an adult motel.
A developer plans to turn this parcel into an all-American auto plaza, a truck stop
7 day a week,
complete with a 12,000-foot retail store,
24-hour a day,
and parking stalls for rent to truckers.
365-day-a-year operation.
Developers say the truck stop would be a tax revenue boost and argue that the land is zoned for commercial development. But neighbors say development's not the problem, it's the traffic.
We would have trucks and autos nonstop around the clock throughout the year on what is now a rural residential street.
And when the sun sets, it's sleepovers in the parking lot that have them worried. Neighbors point to problems with truck stops in nearby communities.
When we talk to like the city of Perry, and they say there was 115 calls to the police department from their truck stop last year, well, what is Wellsville City going to do?
Right now, Wellsville city planners aren't sure what to do. They've handed the matter over to a third-party state commission that balances private property rights with the public interest. But neighbors know exactly what they're going to do. They plan to do everything they can to put a stop to this proposed truck stop.
Truck stops have their place, but in my view, not in the middle of a community such as Wellsville.
So Wellsville city planners have decided to hold off on making any decision until that state commission can review the plan. That decision from the commission is expected to come within the next week or so here very soon, and that's when those commissioners will decide whether or not to allow a permit for that truck stop to go in. Back to you.
Interesting to hear what they decide. Roxanne, thanks so much.
Well, a police standoff in Sandy has come to a peaceful end tonight. That standoff shut down roads near 865 East and 8200 South for hours this afternoon. A man locked himself inside his home with a shotgun. SWAT teams were called into the scene after about 5 hours. The man walked out of the house and he was taken into custody without incident. Officers say alcohol was involved.
A UHP trooper recovering tonight after his car was hit with him inside it along I-15. Trooper Dean Coy was parked against the media near Layton this morning, patrolling traffic. That's when the driver of a Mini Cooper slammed into the back of Trooper Coy's patrol vehicle. Investigators believe the driver of the Cooper fell asleep at the wheel.
It's very important. You don't drive drowsy. If they would have been driving drowsy, this accident would have never happened.
The driver was able to walk away from the crash. He was issued a citation. As for the trooper, he was taken to the hospital with significant injuries.
Well, the car of a fugitive on the run has been found, but tonight still no sign of that wanted man. Officers located John Jesse Samora's vehicle at 800 North and 900 West in Salt Lake. That was late last night. The 21-year-old is accused of trying to run over 3 officers with his car. One officer opened fire, but Samora took off. A chase ensued, but was called off for safety reasons. If you know of Samora's whereabouts, police want to hear from you.
A second gang shooting this weekend, this time in Salt Lake City. 2 men walking to the 7-Eleven store at 500 North in Redwood when a truck pulled up overnight. Words exchanged, and the suspects fired several rounds. The 22-year-old victim hit in the stomach, taken to the hospital in critical condition. Suspects still at large tonight. National news, Chicago police say more than 40 people were arrested today as NATO protesters and police clashed.
Now, as officers work to control that situation, world leaders were making some progress on an exit strategy out of Afghanistan. A line of officers in riot gear tried to move protesters back as they clashed at the end of an anti-war march outside the NATO summit. Police arrested and handcuffed several people, dragging them away from the crowds. The demonstrators marched through the streets of Chicago Sunday, many calling for NATO to be disbanded. Even some veterans throwing their war medals on the ground as they joined the protest, calling for an end to the war in Afghanistan. And while thousands of police officers worked to control the anti-war protests outside, inside, NATO allies announced they want to move their troops into support a year earlier than expected.
By the middle of 2013, we expect the Afghan forces to be taking the lead for security right across the country.
But U.S. forces will have a combat role through 2014. During a meeting with the Afghan president Sunday, President Obama said the transition will be challenging.
The loss of life continues in Afghanistan. There will be hard days ahead, but we're confident that we are on the right track.
The leaders Monday are expected to work on how the coalition will support Afghanistan after troops leave and how they'll continue to fund the mission. Well, France has pledged to pull its troops out of Afghanistan by the end of this year, but its new president says the country will offer other assistance. Right now, we go back to our top story tonight, and we're talking more about that eclipse. Did you see the ring of fire? It was shining over the skies here in Utah. Pretty ideal place to see it.
Lots of people saw it. This may have been the place to see the solar eclipse. Lad Egan is on the story in Canaryville in southern Utah. Lad, lots of folks gathered there. Did they see what they wanted?
Oh, they're certainly not going home disappointed. A huge crowd out here tonight. They've all gone home now. All that's left here are all the extra outhouses they had to bring in for the 5,000 people who showed up. Canaryville, Utah, population. NASA said it was going to be the sweet. Burning ring of fire. A rare treat from the solar system. And the flames went high. Right on schedule, the moon passes between the Earth and the sun.
You could see the moon was, it was almost there. It was almost there. And then you heard the crowd.
It's a little bit freaky. It's kind of weirding you out because you feel like the sun's going down.
It's like the Lord of the Rings. It was just this fiery ring.
And for 2 minutes, a ring of fire suspended in the sky.
This is Mother Nature in action. We were watching the solar system in action.
The small town of Canaryville lived up to its name as the sweet spot to view the annular eclipse.
It was awesome. Once in a lifetime.
Brandon Lundeen brought his boys to see it, and they weren't disappointed.
What do you see?
Under clear skies,
I couldn't be happier about the weather.
Thousands lined the roads and gathered in this clearing.
I think for a lot of these people, it's the first time they've ever had a safe look at the sun.
We could hear, it's almost echoed off all of the mountains, everyone applauding, horns honking.
Susan Schultz traveled from Bountiful so her boys could witness the eclipse firsthand.
What do you see?
The experience is something she says they will always remember.
How could it be more perfect? You couldn't have choreographed and orchestrated this any better.
So everyone had a wonderful time here tonight. Huge crowds, people lining the streets for 9 miles, and then there was this field here next to me where everyone came. But they're all gone now. All that's left here are all the outhouses they had to bring in for all the extra people. The rare commodity tonight, Amy and Brian, of course, were those glasses that you needed to view it. A couple of days ago, you could buy them for a couple of bucks, but tonight some people are asking $10, $15, even $20 to get them. So some people making a buck off the solar eclipse. Live in southern Utah, now back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lad.
I think Lad got stuck for $20 today, too.
I came up with my own, like, tripled up sunglasses, and that worked as well. Yes, and I heard a lot of other makeshift sunglasses to view them, and it seemed to work. It was
a lot
quite
cheaper than $20. Good for you.
Hey, we've got much more coming up here on 2 News at 10. In fact, a skydiving stunt unlike any other. Take a look. A team of thrill seekers soaring within inches of a pair of gliders. So close they were looking the pilot in the eyes. More of this amazing video straight ahead.
This was not a Candyland mission for you. No, it was not.
Thank you, Major, for covering for me. My experience on an F-16 riding low and fast in an air-to-air fight exercise. That's ahead.
And here's another picture of the Ring of Fire eclipse that came in tonight from Greg Forsyth in Cedar City. Beautiful view down there. We had crystal clear skies down south. Some clouds that we had to deal with up north, but believe it or not, those clouds made for some very cool pictures. We'll show you some of those and talk about kind of a wet and wild forecast for the week ahead. It's all coming up right after the break.
An amazing mid-air stunt by a group of skydivers. The group flew just inches away from a pair of gliders. The Red Bull Skydive team wore specially designed wingsuits soaring above the Austrian Alps.
Wow, the skydivers were moving at speeds of up to 120 miles per hour. Team members say they were so close to the gliders, they were able to look the pilots straight in the eyes.
Maybe feet, not just inches, feet, perhaps.
Welcome
they were
back
still
to
close.
2 News. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We are speaking about some, well, pretty amazing adventures in the sky. It was warp speed for you this past week.
Yeah, that's me on the F-16 before we took up. Do I look freaked out there?
See, Tom Cruise and Top Gun has nothing on you.
I think he does. I rode in this F-16 from Hill Air Force Base in air fight training exercises, and this body never quite experienced what it did that day.
You and I specifically are going to be the Striker or the bomber aircraft.
Near Hill, you see them shoot into the sky, bank in the air, one after another. But last Thursday, with help, it's only a little struggle for me. I suited up for an unforgettable flight.
We're going to be flying low, and we're going to be flying fast, and we're going to be cutting in and out of the mountains.
32-year-old Major Tim Toga Scariano has had assignments in Iraq, Korea, Italy. The mission this day to penetrate F-16 defenses on a site in the vast desert Utah Test and Training Range. What are they going to be trying to do to us?
Prevent us from doing that.
And which means try to shoot us down?
Yep.
They're going to try to shoot us down?
They're going to attempt to shoot us down, yep.
Are you going to go easy on me?
It depends. Yes. I will go as easy as I can while still getting the mission done, yeah.
Before being masked, helmeted, and strapped in, there were morning training sessions and a clinic check. F-16s in our exercise were soon in the air and headed to the West Desert,
east to west,
where this video was taken years ago.
Rifle one's off, front rifle away.
Training last Thursday had no visible booms, but the ride from my seat as Major Toga clocked more than 500 miles per hour looked something like this, with hard sudden turns and G-forces that reached above 5. In perhaps little more than an hour, it was over. 60 minutes of an intense, amazing, and punishing ride.
This was not a Candyland mission for you. No, it was not.
Well, how would you describe it?
I would describe this is probably one of the toughest missions that a backseater could have.
You may ask, did my stomach hold the entire flight? The answer is no.
You did good. You did good. You made it about halfway through the flight, and then...
In the end, the pilot with the Roman flight name, it's a long story, assessed what happened in 2 exercises.
We got real low, got real fast, and we ended up getting shot just before we got to where we needed to be.
Okay, how about exercise number 2?
Exercise number 2, I think we made it to where we were supposed to be. So same thing, got low, got fast, and got to where we were going.
We were 1-1 today.
We were 1-1, yeah.
Wow.